It all starts with a question: who are some badass black librarians that more people should know about? My name's Peter, and this is Stacks and Facts. While librarianship as a profession is known for advocating for social inclusion, it also has a long track record of exclusion in many ways. First, there were the many segregated libraries, mostly but not exclusively in the South. This segregation could mean that black people weren't allowed into libraries, period, or it could be in the form of separate but equal situations where black people had to use different entrances, or didn't have access to the same materials, or the same hours of operations as white people. Black librarians also found themselves hitting glass ceilings in terms of employment. Assuming they could afford the education in the first place, they might never get the chance to fill a management role. And even the American Library Association itself hosted council meetings and conferences in places where segregation was the law of the land, preventing black librarians from participating fully. If you've been around this channel for a while, you might remember the video I did back in October talking about why librarians are mostly women and mostly white. It talks a bit more about how librarianship is set up to be mostly accessible to women and white folks. If not, have a look. I'll put a link to it at the end of this video and in the description. But since it is Black History Month, I wanted to use this as a chance to highlight some black excellence and tell you about 5 black librarians that you really should know about. Number 1, Dr. Carla Hayden. Dr. Hayden got her start working at Chicago Public Library in 1973 and is the current Librarian of Congress appointed by Barack Obama in 2016. She's the first librarian in over 60 years to hold the position and the first woman ever, which is ridiculous in its own right. Before her appointment as the Librarian of Congress, she was the CEO of Enoch Pratt Free Library in Baltimore, Maryland. When the police killed Freddie Gray in 2015, protesters took to Baltimore streets peacefully to speak out against the systems in place that led to his death. When the protests turned violent, though, thanks in no small part to Baltimore police shutting down public transit, the city shut down, but she kept one branch of Enoch Pratt's doors open to the community, making sure that there was at least one safe place people could go. It ended up becoming a command center of sorts where daily necessities got distributed and media outlets set up camp to cover it all. And on top of it all, she was also the president of the ALA from 2003 to 2004. Number 2, Dorothy B. Porter. Dorothy B. Porter was the first African American to graduate from Columbia's library school in 1932. She became a librarian at Howard University, where she's credited with turning the Moreland Spingham Research Center into one of the most important and well-developed collections of African American materials in the world through some excellent collection development. She became friends with book dealers around the world, and so when something of interest came up, she'd drop them a line and see if they might be able to get her a copy, maybe even for free. She also did important work implementing an alternative classification system to Dewey's, which, let's be honest, is woefully under-equipped to recognize and organize anything outside of colonial knowledge. Whereas libraries using Dewey at this time would often lump anything to do with blackness into just a couple of subject headings with very little regard to what they actually were, 325 and 326 if you were curious. In this new classification system, works by all authors would be organized by genre, and then by an author's name. This put black authors on equal footing with their white counterparts, rather than just squirreling them away to 1 or 2 shelves. Number 3, Audre Lorde. Audre Lorde worked in libraries in the 1950s and 60s and got her MLS in 1961 from Columbia too, but is perhaps best known for helping people recognize that not all women were treated or advocated for equally in the feminist movement. This helped lead the movement toward a better understanding of intersectionality as a thing before it formally entered the vocabulary in 1989, thanks to Kimberly Crenshaw. An exceptional poet and author, Lorde's poem, Who Said It Was Simple, says it best, I think. There are so many roots to the tree of anger that sometimes the branches shatter before they bear. Sitting in Natick's, the women rally before they march, discussing the problematic girls they hire to make them free. An almost white counterman passes a waiting brother to serve them first, and the ladies neither notice nor reject the slighter pleasures of their slavery. But I, who am bound by my mirror as well as my bed, see causes in color as well as sex, and sit here wondering which me will survive all these liberations. Number 4. Daniel Murray was born a free man in 1852 in Baltimore. In 1861, he started working for his brother at the United States Senate Saloon and helped him with his catering business, which exposed him not just to the politicians of the era, but also a number of government workers, among them the Librarian of Congress, Ainsworth Rand Spofford. This likely helped Murray to get part-time work with the library in 1871 at the age of 19. Murray distinguished himself in Spofford's eyes such that Spofford made Murray his personal assistant in 1874. This helped him get the skills in historical inquiry and foreign languages that he needed to excel in the library, and so he was promoted to assistant librarian in 1881. As a librarian, he did extensive work creating bibliographies of Black-authored works, and even curated a selection of works, literature, portraits, and even patents by African Americans, which got displayed at the 1900 World's Fair in Paris. In his private life, he advocated for the advancement and equality of African Americans, and in 1897 helped found the National Afro-American Council, a precursor to the NAACP, in response to a rise of political disenfranchisement, anti-black riots, and lynchings at the turn of the century. Murray himself was on the receiving end of some of this when Spofford's successor was appointed. Murray was demoted and took a pay cut in 1897 because of the friction incident to caste. In other words, as Elizabeth Dowling Taylor wrote in her biography of Murray, requiring white employees to report to a black superintendent was apparently deemed inadvisable. Number 5. E.J. Josey and the BCALA. Not just one librarian, but many, the Black Caucus of the American Library Association formed partly in response to the ALA's own not great policies around race in the United States. Remembering the 1964 ALA conference, the founder of BCALA, E.J. Josey, explained, "Much to my chagrin, the Mississippi Library Association was honored there for its National Library Week activities. I exploded. I was seething with anger, for I remembered that 3 civil rights workers, Andrew Goodman, James Chaney, and Michael Schwerner, had been murdered and lay dead and buried somewhere in Mississippi, their bodies not yet discovered. I also remembered that the Mississippi Library Association had withdrawn from the ALA rather than give membership to Negro librarians." The Black Caucus formed in 1970, and in 1971 it presented a formal statement of concern regarding the treatment of black librarians, as well as a resolution to censure libraries and librarians who provided materials to private segregated schools, as a way to circumvent integration. Today, according to its mission statement, the Black Caucus of the American Library Association serves as an advocate for the development, promotion, and improvement of library services and resources to the nation's African American community, and provides leadership for the recruitment and professional development of African American librarians. You can learn more about the BCALA at their website, www.bcala.org. These are just a handful of the many black librarians who've done good things for the profession and their community, but maybe there's someone else you think should be added to this list. If so, tell me about them in the comments below, and then maybe other people will learn about some really cool people too. Today, there are thousands of black librarians and library workers around the world, and among them, plenty of examples of excellence in the profession. But for all the progress we've made, we still have a long way to go. Making the profession resemble the communities we serve demographically means tackling the problems that prevent it in the first place, bringing down the cost of education, confronting the fact that part-time and contract work for the first year or more of a new librarian privileges people who have financial support, which usually excludes people of color, and then changing that, and continuing to push white people, and yes, that includes myself, to question how the attitudes we pick up from society and the media around race impact our behaviors so that we can be more just and equitable toward others. I put some links in the description to resources that'll help us get started, so have a look. But these are just some ideas. What am I missing? Let me know in the comments below, or tweet at me at stacks@facts. All right, y'all, that's all I got. As always, thank you for watching, and until next time, don't forget to ask questions. Okay, bye.